Welcome, Dr. Deepti.
Thank you, sir. So at the outset, I would like to thank Professor Kartha and Dr. Hari Krishnan for having given me an opportunity to discuss a little bit of the work that we are doing at Amrita towards the technological avenues for developing cardiovascular devices. Basically, or specifically, I would be focusing on one of the works that we have been doing for quite some time now, which is actually towards the development of a drug and polymer-free nanotextured stents for coronary revascularization, asking ourselves the question whether such kind of a development can be a boon to healthcare. So our overall outline of the talk would be to discuss how a simple surface modification of bare metal stents would help to improve stent efficacy and performance. I think this is too basic a slide for this community, but atherosclerosis is one of the most common coronary heart diseases that kills a lot of people worldwide. And here is where cardiovascular stents become very important, which are based on metallic alloys of stainless steel, nickel titanium, as well as cobalt chromium. Now, they restore the normal blood flow in the stenosed arteries. So the current approaches to stenting include the use of either bare metal stents or the drug-eluting stents. As you all are aware, the current strategy that is widely in use in the clinics is that of drug-eluting stents. Now, the drugs which are used there, giving an example of sirolimus, paclitaxel, everolimus, zotarolimus, etc., which are the second-generation drugs, they would inhibit smooth muscle cell proliferation, but concurrently, they also inhibit the proliferation of endothelial cells. This in turn can lead to an incomplete and delayed endothelialization, which ultimately results in late stent thrombosis. So, our basic aim in taking up this research was to provide a medium through which we can promote enhanced endothelialization and reduce in-stent restenosis. Now, what we are interested is to utilize nanotechnology-driven, cell-friendly approaches to surface-modified bare metal stents. So I'm basically a nanotechnologist by training, and I asked myself the question, how can I utilize the material science background that I have to modify such kind of a device, a biomedical device that is widely used? So as you all are aware, a central premise of the biomaterials field is that surface dictates the biological response of any biomaterial. This applies not only to metals, but also to polymers and all kinds of biomaterials that are widely in use. So when we talk about surface, what are the key properties of biomaterials that impact ultimately the cell behavior? So if you can look at the slide, you can see that the chemistry, hydrophilicity, phobicity, the stiffness of the substrate, the kind of topography that you give, and we can list a few of such material properties. But ultimately, they are the ones that decide whether the cell that attaches should spread and proliferate or they should detach and die. So ultimately, the material surface properties dictate the cell response. Now, if you simply look into some of the native tissues, I'm concentrating here on one of the important aspects, that is the topography. So if you look at the topographical structures that you see around in humans, first is the corneal epithelial basement membrane, the next is the myocardium. What you're seeing below is actually the inner surface of natural blood vessel, and on the rightmost, what you're seeing is collagen type 1 fiber. I just want your attention towards the scale bars that are put up there. Almost all of them have features that are at the nanoscale. So I'm not elaborating too much on it. I just want to conclude with a simple sentence that all native tissues have a surface topography at the nanoscale. This is a field that has been very much explored. So we are trying to create artificial scaffolds that have nanoscale topographies. And it is now well established that nano architecture modulates cellular behavior by influencing their migration, cellular adhesion, differentiation, proliferation, alignment, etc., etc. So we have a provision wherein we can engineer any kind of substrate to have nano architectural features. And this in turn can modulate all the surface properties that I just now mentioned. So there are the current nano approaches in stenting, which are actually into the market or in the clinical trials or finished the clinical trials. I just give you a brief overview of that. One is actually a polymer coated stent, which is polysene, PZF. That is a nano thin coating, which is given on stents, which is a thromboresistant coating that promotes rapid endothelialization and results in lower lumen loss. So here the nano is actually the thickness of the coating. Likewise, VestaSync is the stent that has a polymer-free but a microporous nanofilm of hydroxyapatite in which the drug sirolimus is coated. So this is from MIB Technologies. Likewise, Focus in P stent from Envision Scientific is basically a sirolimus-based nano-carrier eluting system. So you have drug elution in here, and there is a nano-carrier-based system for drug delivery. So all these are talking about some kind of nano mechanisms for drug delivery, mostly. Now, here, our focus, or the focus in my lab, has been to couple nanotechnology with the excellent surface properties of titanium dioxide without using any drugs or polymers. So I asked myself the question, why do you actually require a nanosurface modification? We know that when we surface modify a metal to have nanoscale features, it would mimic the ECM. It will provide enhanced surface area. It will improve the mechanical properties. And it's a very simple approach, unlike the case where you use drugs or polymers. It's not at all an expensive affair. Now, the second question, why specifically titanium dioxide? For those of you who are working with materials, you know that titanium dioxide is a very biocompatible material, which is actually used in a host of biomedical implants. It's hemocompatible and it's anti-thrombogenic too. So we wanted to couple the effects of both these and develop a material with the prime focus of re-endothelialization. So here I describe the product which we have been trying to develop, which is a drug-free, polymer-free, quote-unquote nano-coronary stent, which has excellent surface properties of TiO2, that's titanium dioxide, which has a nanoscale topography that can effectively inhibit in-stent restenosis and late-stent thrombosis. And the question that ultimately I pose myself is, can it be an effective, cost-effective improvement over the current clinical drug-eluting stents? The technology, very briefly, will coat the bare metal stent with titanium dioxide and do a thermochemical processing to develop the nanocoronary stent. Here, I hypothesize that when we develop such kind of a surface on the bare metal stent, it will promote rapid endothelialization throughout the entire stent surface. And it will concurrently inhibit smooth muscle cell proliferation around the stent surface. This is precisely what we want. And this is not what the drug-eluting stent is doing. So we also said that this can indeed eliminate neointimal thickening and in-stent restenosis with minimal use of dual antiplatelet agents, which is where the world is heading to these days. So I briefly put up the results that we have been doing this far. The technology that we have used is thermochemical processing, which is a simple, scalable chemical treatment under slightly elevated temperature and vapor pressure. This can be applied to any metals. It produces a passive surface oxide layer, and it creates a structure that mimics extracellular matrix topography. My group has been working with this technique for years together, and we have been able to generate different kinds of surfaces. I show you the results of the nano stent that we have developed. On the leftmost is the nano coronary stent, and on the right, you are seeing the scanning electron microscopic images. Look at the last figure, that is the CCTNL. I'll tell you, we named it titania nano leaf because of the geometry that you see. And you can see that throughout the stent, it's very homogeneously dispersed, that is the nano surface features, and it was there on the luminal and abluminal surfaces, in contrast to a bare CC, the ones which you are implanting in the patients, that is a bare CC, and We have as comparison simple titania coated CC. CC is cobalt chromium. So I have three surfaces. One is that of bare CC, the other is that of CCTiO2, which means there is no nanostructuring, but only TiO2 deposition. And CCTNL has a nanostructured titania coating. So these three names will occur now often. So I confirmed the surface to be that of titanium dioxide, and the surface was rough at the nanoscale. And very, very importantly, the last figure at the bottom clearly shows you that upon nanostructuring, our stents became extremely hydrophilic. This is one variation that we observed between the bare CC, CCTiO2, and CCTNL, and also the surface roughness. Stability of the structures were assessed based on ISO standards. Accelerated durability was assessed. We found that there was no particulate matter that was eluted. So we wanted to look at what our surface would provide to endothelial cells and smooth muscle cells in vitro first. So this is actually a light dead staining, calcium, ethidium bromide. And you can see that what you're seeing is three panels, bare CC, CCTiO2, and CCTNL. And on the left panel, you have endothelial cell. On the right side, you have smooth muscle cell. I just want you to focus your attention towards the red box. That is CCTNL. Let us look at it. As a function of time, endothelial cells proliferated very well. But look at the smooth muscle cells. In contrast to what you see above for CCTiO2 and bare CC, very few smooth muscle cells adhered to the CCTNL surface, that is the titanium nanotopography. And very few that adhered did not really proliferate even. So you mark the difference there. We also did some viability analysis, again, clearly quantitatively telling you the same data. Endothelial cells proliferated very well. Look at the yellow bars. CCTNL, it's proliferating, whereas on CCTNL smooth muscle cells, the yellow bar is the lowest, significantly different. CD31 staining is significantly well achieved for the CCTNL as well as the TiO2. So you clearly see that TiO2 surfaces and TNL surfaces promoted endothelialization, but it did not promote likewise for the smooth muscle cell. And the endothelial cells were very much functional with very good release of nitric oxide. Focal adhesion studies gave us a clear picture about what exactly happens to the endothelial cells. Look at the top panel, which is that of endothelial cell, and the bottom panel, which is that of smooth muscle cells. You can see very clearly in the CCTNL, look at just those two, and you can see the green dots, which is actually marking the vinculin, which is talking to you about the focal adhesion points on endothelial cells versus smooth muscle cells. Quantitatively analyzed at the bottom, you can see the yellow bar again, which is significantly high for the endothelial cells and low for the smooth muscle cells, telling you that the focal adhesion points that are marked by the cells is very, very high for ECs and not SNCs, clearly telling you that the nanostructured surface shows a preferential cell response. So we wanted to analyze whether the same would happen in vivo, for which we implanted these stents in rabbits and looked at it for 8 weeks, just running through the results. Stent patency was analyzed by angiography and ultrasound. You can see that the vessels were patent and the blood flow velocity was not at all altered, telling you that there was no thrombus or occlusion within the stented artery. And the most important result is the histological and histomorphometric analysis. Please concentrate on the first two panels. You can see that bare CC, CCTiO2, and CCTNL, in comparison to all the three, the CCTNL, which is the one in the box, has this minimum mu-intimal thickening. In contrast to bare stent, which has a very good thickening. And at the bottom, you are seeing a drug-eluting stent, which has been compared likewise. Now, an end-phase staining of the stented artery clearly revealed that there was very good endothelialization marked by the green fluorescence of agglutinin, wheat germ agglutinin, which stains the endothelial glycocalyx green. And the red is actually the propedium iodide. Now, in contrast to all the three, drug-eluting stents showed minimal endothelialization as is expected. Histomorphometric analysis, what you see on the right side, shows you that CCTNL had the lowest restenosis and neointimal thickening in comparison to all the other study groups. And very, very importantly, these studies were done without the use of any antiplatelet agents post-implantation. This was the case only for the three groups CCTNL, CCTIO2, and BARE-CC. Drug-eluting stents clearly require that you administer antiplatelet agents. So the unique selling protocol of this particular study is a polymer-free, drug-free, nanotextured bare metal stent, which can be possibly a cost-effective alternative to the clinical drug-eluting stent for promoting endothelialization and preventing instant restenosis as well as late stent thrombosis. This work is patented. We have an Indian patent and we have been publishing over the years. So this is the group, and I would acknowledge Dr. Vijay Kumar, who has been helping us with all these studies. So this is the animal cath lab facility at Amrita, and my humble acknowledgements go to late Dr. K.K. Haridas, who initiated me into this work. And the work is being carried out now by Dr. Vijay Kumar, Dr. Manita, my colleague, and my students, Dr. Chandini and Alina, who Chandini has completed. Alina is just submitting her thesis. All these would not have been possible but for the benevolence funding from DBT. And all the stents used in this study were provided free of cost by Meril Life Sciences, Gujarat.
Thank you, Dr. Geeti. There are two questions in the chat box. Hydrophilicity or hydrophobicity, which is favorable for preventing thrombosis?
See, actually, protein adsorption is something that is dictating all the subsequent cellular events. So protein adsorption is known to be mediated mainly by low hydrophobicity. So if you have a hydrophilic surface, it will have low protein adsorption and thereby cellular adhesion. So what we are noticing is that endothelial cell adhesion is very much favored on these kind of surfaces, mainly because of its hydrophilicity in combination with surface chemistry and surface roughness. So I don't want to single out one parameter. It's actually a congregation of a coupled effect of all the parameters that has actually given us this particular effect.
The second question is, what about platelet adhesion?
Yeah, we have also looked at platelet adhesion. I haven't put these data. We have published that as well. So these hydrophilic surfaces, which are coated with titanium nanostructures, have very less platelet adherence, and the platelets, those are adhered, are not even activated. We have done platelet adhesion as well as activation and substantiated the data using flow cytometry as well as microscopy.
Yeah, there was a titanium coated stent which was available for years, called the Titan stent.
Titan, yeah.
So
that's a bioactive stent actually, titanium nitride oxide.
So how do you
But that
compare?
is not a nanostructure. Yeah, I don't know what exactly is the reason for it has been called back from the market. I feel they have been doing it on stainless steel, and that is a material which was actually used. And when this basic system moved to cobalt chromium, the people did not really want that stent. But otherwise, that was also showing similar response to that of drug-eluting stents.
Yeah, we had used quite a number of Titan stents, I think, years back.
Yeah, now it's not available in the market.
Correct, yeah. Dr. Ajit?
I really think the problem that of the stents is the lack of endothelialization, or is or have we gone beyond that?
Could you repeat the question, sir?
Do you think the problem now is the lack of endothelialization which you are trying to solve, or have we gone beyond endothelialization? If you take a temporal in terms of time, we find that most of the stents would get endothelialized over a course of time. And the problem is more related to restenosis and the neoatherosclerosis that comes across. So do we really have to target endothelialization still?
So I feel that in my personal opinion, I feel that the faster it gets endothelialized, it becomes non-thrombogenic also. or antithrombogenic. So if you are able to promote a faster endothelialization with very minimal smooth muscle cell adhesion and proliferation, that'll be the best bet. And this material can then go on. And the other aspect which we are also trying to look at is the reduction in the time the platelets, antiplatelet agents are administered. So if we can come up with a system that can put together all these, I think it'll be a wonderful matter to take on.
Diti,
Yes, sir.
Mrs. Verma is the excellent presentation. So I want to ask you one question regarding this one. Is it anatase phase in this, the TNL?
It's actually a mixture of anatase and rutile, sir.
So it's because of temperature.
Yeah,
Do you
exactly.
think any sort of delamination happens from the metallic surface? That is why.
So we have actually done accelerated durability, which is equivalent to 6 months of implantation. And we have not got any particulate matter or delamination. And we have done all the kind of basic bench work that we could do, but we have to give it for functionality analysis in a accredited lab, which we have to propose.
And another one, is it this sputter coating is a line of sight one. So in a stent, like a three-dimensional sample, how do you make sure that this uniformity?
So we are actually putting it in a chamber in which the stents are rotated at a uniform speed. And we have a rotating target as well. So that ensures that there is a very good coating, and the coating is very, very thin, sir. It's only 30 nanometers. And that is what ensured no delamination or flaking. So we have done it on multiple stents, and we have found that there is no flaking of the structures. I attribute it mainly to the small thickness of the coating that we have given.
In the current era where we use around 99% of drug-eluting stents, where will you place it in the clinical market, these drugs, this particular stent?
So I think my internet connection was slightly unstable. Could you repeat your question?
In the current era, when we use 99% of drug-eluting stents in the cath lab, so where will you place your stent in the when it comes to as a product into the market? So will you be,
It's a very good question, actually. So, sir, what I want to say is the stents that we are working on do not have any drugs, do not have any polymer. The only thing is a biocompatible TiO2 coating, which is given. So it's a simple thermochemical process that we have done to generate these nanostructures. So I would say that we can give it at half the price of the drug-eluting stents. And we have been working on that line with Merrill Life Sciences also. And they are very much interested to take up this, provided we get a project to work on. I have been banging on every door because this is, a make in India thing, why you have to go elsewhere and get the expensive drug-eluting stents to do this, when you can generate at half the cost something as a make in India platform. So I would say that it will be a much, much cheaper option for the big mass, Indian mass, if somebody promotes this. So I think people like you should help us go ahead with such kind of make in India things.
Yeah, we are the pioneer in making in India. So Chitra Valve is the best example. So
I know.
Yeah.
But maybe because we are talking from Amrita, we are not getting it there. I have not been successful yet to move towards a preclinical large animal study. I've been banging on every door.
The stents have reached a rock bottom price that it becomes difficult to make.
Yeah, but it is at 29,800 rupees now for a drug-eluting stent. If I can give this system for 15,000, wouldn't you prefer that? I don't know.
No, there are some Indian stents they are giving for 15,000 rupees. That is the sad part.
So then I'll say that there are no side effects of the drug or the polymer. I don't have any such inflammatory response. And if I can prove that.
Yeah.
And the event rates have also become very low.
Very low. To find a difference between two stents, you have to have thousands of patients because the event rate is very, very low. We did a study some years back. We got an event rate of 3% at 3 years. So to find a difference, you have to have thousands, which is not practically possible. That is why people now go for non-inferiority and all. Yeah. Okay, thank you so much for the